Welcome, ladies, to the YL OpNet. This is Catherine, AAC4YL Net Control for this evening's net. We meet every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Echolink Alara conference node. Be sure to invite all YLs you know to join us. We ask that only YLs or licensed young lady ham radio operators check in and participate. The purpose of this net is to encourage you to become and stay active with amateur radio, help each other improve our operating knowledge and skills, and have fun. For more ham fun between weekly nets, check out the YL OpNet Facebook group. During the net, be sure to join us in the NFARL Do Drop In chat room by opening any web browser and going to nfarl.dodropin.org. Just put your name - call sign in the box and click log in. YLs who would like to check in, give us your call sign, name, and current location. And don't forget there is a 3 to 4 second delay when transmitting through Echolink. This is Catherine, AAC4YL. We will now begin taking check-ins. Please call now.
AE7MB, Margaret, Battleground, Washington.
This is KD8SGB, Brenda in Roseville, Michigan.
W5MQC, Norman, Oklahoma.
Kilo Alpha 1, United Lima November, Nisi in Andover, Massachusetts. It's only 60 degrees right now on July 13th. Back to net.
KA7SKY, Sky in Gardner, Washington.
N5KUO, Judy, Norman, Oklahoma.
KB4RM, Rosemary, Houston, Texas.
Okay, ladies, we'll go ahead and take this first group of check-ins. I have Margaret, AE7MB, Battleground, Washington. Good evening. Glenda, I think your call, I got Kilo Delta 8, Sierra Golf Victor. I'm not sure if I copied your call correctly. So, Glenda in Michigan, if you can come back and confirm that call for me, that would be great.
Yeah, this is Brenda. The call is Kilo Delta 8, Sierra Golf Bravo.
Ah, there we go. Okay, very good, Brenda. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the correction. Kilo Delta 8, Sierra Golf Bravo. Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that. And we have, and welcome to the net. We have Michelle, W5MQC, joining us from Oklahoma. Nisi, KA1ULN, joining us from Massachusetts. Sky, KA7SKY, joining us from Washington. Judy, November 5 Kilo Uniform Oscar, joining us from Oklahoma. Rosemarie, KB4RM, checking in from Texas. Let's go ahead and keep the check-ins coming. We've got several gals here that have not checked in, so please call now.
Seven Kilo 4 Tango Kilo Bravo Yukiko from Tokyo, Japan.
November 2 Romeo Juliet, Rhea in Wantage, New Jersey.
Kilo Charlie 9 Yankee Lima, Wisconsin.
Alpha Golf 4 Yankee Lima, Melanie from Marietta, Georgia.
Okay, very good. So also joining us this evening in the U.S. here is Yukiko, 7K4TKB, checking in from Tokyo, Japan. So good morning to you, Yukiko. Hope you're doing well. Rhea in 2RJ, joining us from New Jersey. And Ann, KC9YL, checking in from Wisconsin. And Melanie, AG4YL, joining us from Georgia. So good evening to everybody. We'll ask for additional check-ins about 3/4 of the way through the net this evening. So if you didn't get a chance to verbally check in, we'll ask for that in a bit. So stick around and hang out with us here. Again, we'd like to welcome everybody to the YL OpNet this evening. And again, this is Catherine, AC4YL, your net control. And tonight, as you may have noticed, we asked on the YL OpNet Facebook group for some suggestions on topics for the net, because we want to, Melanie and myself want to make sure that this net is of interest and of value to you all, as well as to ourselves, and give us all an opportunity to learn more. So one of the topics that was also mentioned and suggested was also suggested last week, and we started getting into it a little bit, so I thought we'd pick up the topic again this evening, and that was on contesting. Melanie kicked off talking about some terminology that you often hear with contesting, such as CQ and QRZ, as well as some other ones, and I don't have the list right in front of me, but we did cover some of those. So what I thought we'd do is talk a little bit about the terminology, but also go into just some contesting basics, as well as any tips that you gals have. So this is going to be a very interactive net, so I hope you ladies are here and ready to offer up your tips and suggestions and contesting know-how to the group here, so that we can all benefit and kick around some ideas. So with that, let me pause for a reset. So with that, we'll go back through some things on contesting basics. So I believe most of you have participated in a contest before in relation to ham radio. So what I'd like to do is start by asking if any of you ladies here on the net this evening have never participated in a ham radio contest. So if you have never participated in a contest on the air, whether it be voice or phone, digital or CW, if you've never operated in a contest at all, please call now. I'll just get your call if you don't mind letting us know. Thank you.
KA7SKY.
KC8 UFV.
N2 RJ.
WA4YL, Northern Florida.
K7CJS.
Okay, very good. So we have several of you ladies that have not participated in contesting at all. We have Sky and CJ and Chrissy and Susie. I see in the chat that she has never participated in a ham radio contest before. Now I heard Rhea throw out her call, but I'm pretty sure, Rhea, you've played in several contests. And then I think, Dawn, I believe you have as well. So there are a few of you that have not participated in ham radio contesting. So what I'd like to do is encourage you that have not to feel free to ask questions on this net. So we're going to go through some things with you gals and some basic contesting and try to help you understand a little bit on how it works, and then go from there. So feel free to, we'll give you a chance to ask questions that you may have along the way as well. So keep that in mind. Maybe have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil handy so you have an opportunity to ask those questions. And if you don't think of them during the net this evening, feel free to hop on over to the YLOpNet Facebook group and post them there, and you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions of the gals from the net there as well. So first off, let's talk about what is an amateur radio contest. So who would like to volunteer to share with the group what do we mean by amateur radio contesting? What is it, and generally what's the purpose of contesting on the air?
N2 RJ. Sorry about throwing my call earlier. I didn't realize that you said those who've never taken part in a contest. So anyway, I'm here to answer contest questions as well, and for contest stuff.
Oh, no problem at all, Rhea. Not a problem at all. So very good. All right, so with that, who would like to tell us why one would participate in an amateur radio contest?
This is WA4YL. Do what? You earn points, you get certificates, and QSL cards from each of these special stations, and they commemorate like historic events, the Indy 500, the 13 colonies, Route 66. Those are all great contests, and they do give nice certificates and nice cards. Back to net control. WA4YL.
All right, awesome, Dawn. So yes, very good. So folks may participate in an amateur radio contest or a special event to receive special QSL cards. So with that brings up a side point that we'd like to make. So you've got contesting, and then you have special event stations, and they're very different in the sense that contesting is usually focused for a particular time period with a specific objective in mind for you to reach for or strive for, whereas special event stations, while they also take place on a particular period of time, are specifically geared to work that one station or group of stations that may also have an objective. So they're similar in a lot of aspects, and yet contesting and special event stations also may happen around the same time of year as well. So very good, Dawn. Thank you. So for the cool QSL cards, you may participate in a special event or in a contest situation. So very good. That's one way. What might be another reason that you may participate in an amateur radio contest or a special event?
And two.
Please go ahead, Rhea.
All right, well, in a contest, there is the question of who are you competing against. And since most of us don't have big stacks like K3LR, or we don't even have beam antennas, or we have a modest station with 100 watts, a lot of times people contest for personal goals. So they would contest to basically measure their station and improve their operating skills. And another benefit of contesting is that they can quickly work several DX entities or states or any other points or entities or other stuff they need for basic awards. And that kind of got me started on contesting. I got started in contesting because I started chasing DX, and then I realized that it was fun through this contest. So that is how it goes. Back to you, Catherine, and to RJ.
Okay, very good, Rhea. So you brought up some good ones. So to work DX, which are your distance stations, which are a lot of fun. To earn awards as well, or personal goals such as DXCC, which is where you work and achieve confirmations on 100 different DXCC entities. And you can find that list on ARRL.org's website. It'll be posted there. You can also most likely Google DXCC entity current list and get one from probably several other websites as well. So you may have personal goals as far as working certain stations in certain locations, or working as many as you can, and that might be why you participate in amateur radio contesting. And there may be specific ones that you participate that help you achieve that goal. Very good. Thank you, Rhea. As a side note as well, I tend to forget about VHF and UHF contesting, but we know Andrea, K2EZ, doesn't hesitate to remind us because she's a big VHF, UHF contester and special event participator as well. But those are great contests, and also chasing certain grids or counties are some other goals that several folks may have in participating in amateur radio contesting of all different kinds. So very good. Thank you, Rhea. What are some other reasons why an amateur radio operator may play in contesting? Okay, nothing heard. So again, you may have certain goals that you're trying to achieve. Another reason that one might participate in amateur radio contesting is to test their equipment and see how well it does, or to study propagation, for example. Might be another reason, because that's when a lot of people are going to be on the air, and you want to know how well your equipment works in reaching other certain areas on the planet. That's another great way to do that, is to participate in a contest. So I'm sure there are several other reasons, but those are generally the main reasons that people would participate in a contest. So every contest, of course, has contest rules. For example, only certain bands may be used. It only takes place between certain times and on certain dates. So any contacts that you make outside of those times or those dates cannot be counted in a contest. Also, some contests may require off times when you basically cannot spend that specific amount of time operating. You may be allowed to work 12 hours and then you have to stop for 30 minutes or an hour before you can come back and participate any further in there, or in the contest, or you may only be able to participate for a certain number of hours. Even though the contest runs between certain times and on certain days, you may have a limit of how long you can spend. So those are some basic contest rules. Another piece that's important in a contest is an exchange. So that brings up the terminology in exchange. So what do we mean when we're participating in a contest and someone may say, "What is your exchange?" Who can share that with the group here?
AG4YL.
Okay, very good. I saw that Susie keyed up, but Susie, I didn't get any audio. So let's go to Susie first and see if she's got a comment on our question there about what an exchange is. And if not, we will go over to Melanie.
NHCGM, I wasn't really volunteering to say what an exchange is, but I do believe it's when both sides of the conversation exchange the data that they're supposed to exchange. And I didn't check in earlier, Susie, NHCGM in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I regret to say that I fibbed somewhat because I did make one contact in the July 1st Canada Day contest on Echolink, which is really the only radio that I still have available to me. Can't really even use 2 meters. Back to net.
Okay, very good, Susie. No problem, but thanks for answering the question for the group here, and we'll go to Melanie to expand on that. And no worries about that. So you have participated, even on a smaller scale, but it counts. So very good. Thank you so much, Susie. It's great to hear you, and we have you in the log as well. Okay, let's go over to Melanie. AG4YL, please go ahead with your comment.
All right, thank you very much, AG4YL here. Good evening, ladies. I don't know that I can expand on that anymore. For instance, the 13 colonies exchange, it is it's literally what it is. It's an exchange during any kind of contest. And by the way, I saw the comment about operating event. Yes, contest or operating event, I think is where Catherine meant to go with this. Field day is most certainly an operating event, and it is most certainly getting your feet wet. In fact, that's what got me interested in doing other contests/operating events. But that aside, an exchange is the information that each party needs to officially complete the QSO for the operating event. For example, during 13 colonies, the exchange was your call, your signal report, and your state, province, country. For the recent ARRL DXHF championship, the exchange was your call, obviously your IRU zone, and your number, and your basically a signal report. And this brings up something kind of interesting. I don't know if y'all have covered this and I missed it, but very often when you are contesting, particularly in a contest but also in many operating events, when you are asked to exchange a signal report, it is not a real report unless somebody asks for it. 59 or 599 is the signal report that you get. It's a contest standard. You'll occasionally hear people say a 55 or 56. It's not, particularly the big guns, they don't really care. They're going to log you at 59 and roll on. So just thought I would mention that, put in my 2 cents on that, and I'll send this back over to Catherine and Annette. This is AG4YL.
Well, thank you very much, Melanie, and thanks for those examples of some exchanges. And I think that's very helpful, and that's an excellent point about signal reports and how they're generally exchanged during contests. Basically, if you can hear them and work them, and they can hear you and work you, it's generally a 5-9 exchange across the board to keep things simple. So very good, and that's a great contest tip as well. So you can make a note of that, gals that have never participated and are interested in doing so. Oh, thank you very much, Melanie, for adding that on. So very good. Okay, any other comments on exchange before we continue the topic?
This is N2RJ. Just a note about types of exchanges.
Oh, please go ahead, Rhea.
Okay, so some contests have the serial numbers in exchange. And if you notice, there are some contests which require age, and some require different things. Now, the serial number exchange is pretty straightforward, meaning that you just get an incrementing serial number, and this is where your contest logging software comes in. Whether you use N1MM or use N3FJP or you use WinTest or I don't know what else, you have to make sure that it's set up correctly for the contest and the exchange. Now, why I mentioned the one about age, that's the All Asian DX contest. You can give your age, but of course, all of us are 21 years old. So they have in the rules of the All Asian DX contest is that YLs can give 0 as their age if they don't want to give their actual age. So I give 0 sometimes, and it actually confuses some of the OMs. And that kind of, that's something you got to watch out for. So you decide, do you want to put your real age on here, or do you want to use 0, as a YL? And then there's also another one on CW called the Manchester Minera, which is a South American, well, it was originally South American, but now it's a worldwide DX CW contest. And YLs have a special exchange, which is the continent and Y. So if you look in the rules, it'll tell you everything about exchanges, and the exchanges are important sometimes because, well, they're important for accuracy, but when you enter them in the log software, some are worth more. Like, for example, in Manchester Minera, YLs are worth 10 points instead of normal 2. So if they enter it correctly, they get 10 points. And by the way, in contesting, I make a reasonable effort for them to get the exchange. But if they decide that they're just going to move on, I'm just going to let them go ahead. But generally, in good faith, you try to put out the exchange so they will get it. I mean, if they want to just think they're correct and move on, nothing you can really do about it. So back to you, Catherine, and to RJ.
All right, very good, Rhea. Well, thank you for adding that additional flavor to the exchanges and bringing up some contests that I certainly haven't heard of, so that's very cool and exciting. Always learning about new contests, and they do have their individual rules and information on what to exchange. So we'll talk about where you can find those in just a minute. We'll come back to that. But thank you for some excellent points, Rhea. Certainly do appreciate that. So again, Rhea mentioned serial number. So serial number or sequence number is another way to look at it. It's just if somebody is your fifth contact that you're putting in the contest log, then you would give them a serial number of 5 or 05, depending on how easy it's going to be to transmit in band conditions, of course. So if you're not sure, another cool thing about contesting is that you'll find helpful when you're trying to figure out exchanges. That was probably one of the most confusing parts for me when I was learning about contesting or just figuring contesting out. Some tips on that, if you're not sure, is one, look at the rules for that specific contest that you're thinking about participating in ahead of time, so that you at least have an idea. Even those can be somewhat daunting and a bit confusing. So the next thing I found easiest for me was to turn on the radio during the contest time and just listen to those that are participating operating in the contest, because generally you can pick up and figure out what it means. So you've got your rules in front of you and you're looking at what the exchange should be, and then you're listening so that you can match up. Oh, okay, that's what that is. A signal reports the 59, that's the serial number, and you can kind of get an idea of what order that exchanged information is being given in. And that will help you out a lot. So you don't have to jump right in and start calling CQ getting started in a contest. You can actually sit back and listen to those that are operating and participating. Let me pause for a reset. That was probably one of the biggest helps to me when I was getting started in contesting. Another thing is contesting tends to be a lot of fun with a lot of people. So if you can participate with someone in your local amateur radio club that is a big contester, I would suggest you spend some time with them during a contest. Either invite them over to join you in your shack, or see if they're willing to have you over so that you can see how it all works. And have fun with somebody that's been contesting for a while, and they'll help you and guide you along as well. So just some other tips on that. So thank you, Rhea, for your information, and Melanie, and everyone's comments thus far. Anything else on exchanges before we move on? Okay, nothing heard, so we'll go back to, again, some contest basics. So, again, every contest has rules. Some of them are only certain bands may be used. Again, the certain time or certain days, required off time you may have to follow. And then we talked about the exchange of information and what you may be required to send and receive on each exchange and log. Okay. Other basic general contest rules may include certain operating configurations, such as a class of power, or class of operation, such as, are you a single operator using low power? Are you participating in contesting with a group? So you're a multi-operator. Are you using high power or low power? What modes are you operating in? So all of that information per each contest is covered in the contest rules. Some competitions, such as the ARRL sweepstakes, draw a lot of hams onto the air, and others are smaller that may only have a limited participation. So again, some are worldwide contests that involve everybody, and some are more focused on the U.S. or certain areas of the world, like you're trying to work as many Asian stations as you can, or as many South American stations as you can in a given time period. Or maybe it's the YLOM contest, and you're trying to work OMs, and the OMs are trying to work YLs. So there are a variety of contests out there, and again, all of that information is covered in the rules. Okay, so before we move further along, let's pause for any questions. Does anybody have any questions on what we've covered thus far? Okay, not hearing any so far. Hopefully we're not going too fast. I know we're covering quite a bit of information in a fairly short period of time. And before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to apologize to all of you that I am not able to keep up with the chat rooms and run the net. So Melanie, if you see something in the chat room that needs to be brought to my attention, please pop in and comment on it so that we don't miss it. Some of you gals might post questions in there or additional comments that you want to bring up for the gals. So please, Melanie, if you do see that, let me know, because I just can't watch that and run the net at the same time. So I want to apologize to you gals in advance for that. If you say something to me in the chat and I don't comment back, that would be why. Okay, so we've talked about some basic general information about contesting. So again, with any contest, you also create a log. And again, Rhea pointed out and mentioned a couple, 2-3 logging programs. And we've covered logging programs in the past, so we're not going to spend too much time on that this week. But it is recommended that you use a logging program. A lot of times it's much easier than doing it by paper, although paper is always an option. You can always submit complete a paper log, and most contests will let you submit a paper log, although it is easier for them to score your log by you submitting it digitally or having a digital log that you could submit and turn in. It does make it much smoother, I would say, to do it using an electronic log, and is becoming a lot more popular as well. So logging is always a key thing. Again, some popular contest logs are N1MM, N3FJP, DX Labs, Ham Radio Deluxe, Genlog, and there are several others that we've talked about before on the net. So keep that in mind as well, and feel free to download any trial versions of those programs and play with them and see which one you like best. And several of them have contest specific logs, such as N3FJP has contest specific logs, so you can download a log for the ARRL November sweeps, for example. You can download specific log for field day. So there are contest specific logs in several of those logging programs, which really help you pin down on just the information you need to exchange for that contest, and makes it that much easier. Do we have any quick comments on logging? Please call now.
And to RJ.
Please go ahead, Rhea.
Okay, there are just two things I'd like to mention about logging. You mentioned logging software. I would highly recommend a specific contest logging software program, only because it scores the contest properly, and it checks the exchanges, and it makes sure you're not goofing up. My favorite is N1MM, but N3FJP also makes for specific contests and operating events like field day, so those are two good options. WinTest is another option used by a lot of top contesters. My friend W2GD. John, he is a big wind test guy. He uses that. I use N1MM. But there are a few of them. They also do, the logging software also does station control. If you really want to get advanced into it, it'll turn your rotor. It will get the spots from the DX cluster if you're really into that. Regarding electronic logs, a lot of contest sponsors are moving away from paper logs, and they really want the logs electronically. So they do offer this option. Some of them, instead of submitting a paper log by snail mail, what they would do is they'd give you a website and tell you you can enter your contacts there and submit them. And it's I believe it's run by Bruce Horn, WA7BNM. And then ARRL has one too. But of course, checking the rules will tell you this. But yeah, there's a lot of discussion about making contest entries electronic only because it saves the log checkers a lot of time. There's no typing, there's nothing like that. Obviously, high-scoring entries are 100% electronic. They will not accept a paper log for a high-scoring entry. And if you get a chance, I'll send a video of how contesting used to look in the past. I'll put it in the group. You will see that these guys had a big sheet called a dupe sheet that used to put up, and they used to basically check off stations by prefix and suffix. So, it's interesting. I'll post that video up. You can get a window in contesting. Used to be before I was born, probably, and back in the days when everything was on paper. All right, back to Net and to RJ.
All right, very good, Ria. So thank you very much for those additional points as well. So yes, you brought up that great one about using contest-specific programs so that they can score your contest information correctly. And again, kind of takes the guesswork out of trying to figure out what your score was. And another cool thing too about a lot of the logging programs is you can look at statistics from your contest. So how many different call areas you may have worked, or you can break down and look at that. How many different countries did you work during that contest period? There are a lot of fun things to look at that may not really count in the contest, like the goal isn't that particular statistic, but for your own information and fun and learning about your equipment and your antenna and how well propagation was working and in what direction for you, it's a lot of fun. You can gather a lot of cool information if you're one of those what we would call a math nerd and you like to look at stats. So there you go. So very good. Thank you very much, Ria, for your comments on that, and look forward to watching that video. If you could post that on the Facebook group, that would be awesome. Check that out as well. Very cool stuff. So thank you. Okay, any other additional comments on logging programs? I am curious. We have some gals on right now. I see that Carol is on and has joined us from Canada, and we also I'm not sure if Yukiko is still with us. She's probably dropped down below where I can't see her on my list here on Echolink. But I'm curious for you gals, if you participate in contesting, what logging program that you use. So any of you gals, Carol or Jenny or Yukiko, if you'd like to come back and let us know what logging program you use if you participate in contest. Curious about that as well.
Victor Alpha 3, Whiskey Hotel Uniform. Good evening, ladies. I just got in from work, so I'm joining the conversation a little late tonight. I have to work till 8 o'clock on Thursday nights now for the next 2 weeks, as I'm covering one of the gentlemen that's on vacation in our store. So I'll send it back over to you, and welcome everybody.
Okay, very good, Carol. Real quick, if you got a second, we're talking about contesting in amateur radio this evening, Carol. Have you participated, or do you participate in any contesting in amateur radio? And if so, is there a specific logging program that you like to use?
Yeah, I have done Field Day and the Canada Day one, but I don't use a logging program. No, I just make contacts and I say hi to people. I haven't actually used any programs. I'm just somebody that likes to meet and greet with people and say hello when I can. Over.
Okay, very cool, Carol. No problem at all. So, very good. Well, we're glad to have you with us this evening, and glad you made it home safely from work. And we'll let you get settled in there. Thanks so much for checking in with us this evening. It's great to hear you, and I hope that work is going well. So, very good, Carol. Thank you so much. Okay, so again, I'm not sure if Jenny or Yukiko are still with us this evening, but if you gals would like to share with us if there's a specific logging program that you like to use, if you participate in contesting at all.
Hi, this is Yukiko, 7K for TKV in Tokyo, Japan. I like contesting, and I participated in a DX contest as well as a domestic contest. And the contest logging software I use is called a C-Test Win. I think it's created by the Japanese ham, and it's very convenient and very operation logging system. And it pops up all the list of the contest, and I just click on the particular contest that I'm going to participate, and it has I have to set up everything there, and it also has a serial number is automatically counted, and so it's very convenient. And there's another popular contesting logging software created by the students of University of Tokyo, which is the most prestigious and competitive university in Japan. And I don't know much about it, but the C-Test Win and Z-Log, which is called Z-Log, is the most two popular contest logging software in Japan. Okay, back to you, back to Catherine, AC4YL. This is 7K for TKV. Over.
Okay, very good, Yukiko. Well, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about those two logging programs. It's a lot of fun to hear from you gals, you international gals, and hearing from all of you about the logging programs you use. It's fun to hear about ham radio culture, as we can call it, around the world. That's the part of the joy of the net here. So thank you so much, Yukiko, for coming in and telling us about that. All right, very good. So I saw Jenny, you keyed up, then you disappeared, so I'm not sure if you had a comment as well. So let's check in with you real quick if you got a second there, Jenny, or you had a comment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks there, Kat. For 2 meters, I use the Minos logger. It's brilliant. It's simple to use. No, you don't have to think about it. Logging, keep the mouse over the log, and then use the keyboard to move it along. It's as easy as that. For all those, I either use HRD, a great favorite of mine, or N1MM. I've used that one. Pretty good. I quite like it. But say for VHF work and UHF work, I use Minos logger. Back to you there, Kat. And if I suddenly go dead, you don't see me on. The paramedics arrived. Okay.
Okay, Jenny, very good. Well, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about your logging programs. And I saw some brief commentary in the chat, so hope all goes well with your OM and everything works out fine for that. So best wishes to you and to Murphin there. And please do take care and keep us posted outside of the net, Jenny. We'd like to know how you guys are doing. So thanks so much for being with us this evening, and hopefully we can take a little bit of the stress out of the moment there for you. So thanks, Jenny, for coming in, and again, hope all goes well there. Okay, very good. So any other comments or questions, quick questions about logging before we move on? Please call now. Okay, nothing heard. So the next thing we're going to talk about briefly is methods of contesting. So basically, there are two ways you can participate in a contest, generally speaking, as far as whether you are going to do what they call running, which means you find a clear frequency and you get on that frequency and you use it for the contest by calling CQ contest for long periods of time, and you log everyone that comes back to you and is participating in that contest. So that's one method. Another popular method is what they call search and pounce, or searching and pouncing, or SNP. Just like it sounds, you tune through the frequencies looking for stations participating in a contest. So you're looking for those that are running, and you work them and you log them, and then once you complete your exchange, then you continue up or down the band looking for the next person that is participating in the contest, and you work them and you log them, and then you move on. So two methods, running and searching and pouncing, or SNP. So I'd like to open it up to the group here and see, is there a particular method that you prefer for those of you out there that love to contest? Is there a method that you prefer, and perhaps you prefer running in some contests and searching and pouncing in others? What kind of helps you determine which method you use in a particular contest? So if you'd like to share that with the group and your tips and the method to your madness, please call now. AC4YL. Okay, not hearing anyone, so hopefully my signal's getting out. Hi. So let me ask this question then. Let's say you have a tower that's 100 feet in the air, and you're running 1500 watts, so you're a power user. Would you use the search and pounce method when you're contesting, or would you more than likely run a frequency?
M2RJ.
Oh, please go ahead, Rhea, and to add on to that, make a little correction there. If you have a tower that's 100 feet up and you have an antenna on that tower, go ahead, Rhea. N2RJ, please go ahead.
Well, that depends on which DXCC entity you're in. I've run pileups with just wire antennas, but I was in a different country. So as far as search and pounce and running is when you want to build up your number of contacts. So you want to basically add your number of contacts. This assumes a serious entry, like you're competing to win something, a certificate, or you're competing to place in a top 10, top 20, or simply to post a big score. All of these things are good reasons to contest. If you want to do that, you sort of almost have to run. There's one exception, which I'll cover in a little bit. So you run to basically build up your number of contacts. You search and pounce for what you call multipliers. Multipliers are basically stations that will multiply your score. For example, they might be different DXCC countries, different prefixes, different states, different counties, or even different types. I mentioned the YLs or special. No, they're not. We're not really multipliers. We're more like bonus points. But multipliers would be like, a station that would basically add to the multiplication factor for your score. And all the stations with advanced techniques, including me, we basically run 2 receivers, and we run on one band, and then we search and pounce on the other. That's called single operator 2 radio. Anyway, but if you have a station, definitely you want to be able to run. The only exception I would say to not running is if conditions are so good, like at the peak of the solar cycle, that you can just basically tune the whole band and pick up contacts nonstop. So that happened, I think, in 2011 was the last solar peak, and that basically, you could basically make, I think I made one contest, I made 3 million just search and pounce, but we had a bunch of different bands open all the way to 10 meters, so it all depends on conditions. Back to net, into RJ.
Okay, very good, Rhea. Well, thank you for bringing up some cool points again, and let's see if anybody else has anything that they would like to add. Please call now. Okay, not hearing anyone. I guess y'all aren't tired of my voice yet, so I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So, so Rhea brought up some good points. So when you're running a frequency, you're basically trying to work as many stations as possible. Really, anyone that can hear you calling CQ is really what you're going for. So, going back to our example of the operator that's got that 100-foot tower with a beam and running 1,500 watts, they're most likely going to be running a frequency. More likely doing that than searching and pouncing, because they have the equipment that will most likely reach quite long distances and do quite well. Whereas if you're in a somewhat more compromised antenna situation, and again, that's not to say that you can't run a frequency or make a lot of contacts in a more compromised antenna situation. But if you're running QRP and you're running on a little antenna that functions indoors because you're in an apartment, or in a condo, or in a place that has extremely strict rules about antennas, you may have more luck doing the search and pounce and seeing who you can work. However, if you do want to experiment and just see who can hear you, you can certainly find a free frequency and call CQ. You can also switch between the 2 methods during contesting, which you might find useful as well. Where, as Rhea mentioned, the bands are so busy and conditions are so good, you can go up and down and pretty much work every contact or every other contact, or at least feel like you're working quite a few without having to struggle with every contact that is. Then you may find that that's the time to do the search and pounce. And then when things are a little bit on the quieter side, you may decide to find an open frequency and then sit and run that frequency. Okay, do we have any other comments or tips? Or if you'd like to share with us your method, do you prefer search and pounce or running a frequency, or do you like to alternate between the 2?
K2EZ.
Well, good evening, Andrea. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I can't really add anything beyond what Rhea said already as probably the best thing you could do if you're operating contests. Just a slightly different perspective on the VHF contests. Again, a lot of stations will sit there and call and run a frequency, but most of the big stations, and I'm, as a rover, I'm a little station. So if I get on a big hilltop, I'll call, but running a frequency on HF, you're making contacts every minute or so, a couple a minute even. I might see a contact every few minutes, every 5 minutes, if I'm in a really good location. And with moderate power, 100 watts, 150 watts, 180 watts, that will work adequately. But the big stations that have beams and maybe a kilowatt of power, they'll spend a lot of time running, so to speak, but they can't just sit there and call. They got to rotate their antennas around and find stations. So there's always that little mix of hunt and pounce in there at the same time. Now, just a little kind of tip for if you're hunt and pouncing. And like, say you're just casually want to make a few contacts during a contest. But this one became really important for me during the last June's VHF and this June. I made an adjustment, and I kind of learned it last June, is people tend to flock to the really strong stations, and in some cases the rare stations, the DX stations. Now, DX contests are great times to work a lot of DX because there's a lot of things that, they're working through contacts really fast. And, there's a lot of opportunities, so people are kind of spread out. But in the VHF contest, there's a big 6-meter opening. And there's few really strong stations. And a lot of people tend to go to the strong stations, hearing them strong. Maybe it's the belief that because they're so strong, they'd be able to talk to them easily. But unless you're running a kilowatt and can really get back to them with power, some of those really strong stations can be difficult to get through to, only because there's hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but dozens of other people calling. And so sometimes it's actually easier to find the weaker stations, not the ones that are running like a contact, constantly, because they've got a pileup. But somebody that's not quite as strong, that's calling CQ and not getting an answer, even though they're not as strong as that other station. So you tend to think, well, maybe they're not going to hear me as well. Well, there isn't that competition of people calling them, and so you can get through to them. And so for me, as a small station, I got a small antenna on my car during the VHF contest. I focused on the
Peter, timeout, cancel.
Well, Andrea, I think you timed out a repeater, so please do come back and finish what you were telling us. You're bringing up some excellent points. Back to you, Andrea. K2EZ, AC4YL, and the net.
W8MJC here. Please be more conscious of the timing. You've timed it out about 3 times. W8MJC.
Okay, Andrea, I think you're clear to transmit again. The timeout is cleared from your name there in Echolink. So yes, we do have some repeaters that are linked in. So for you gals that are using Echolink, really quick, please go in and to set your timeout timer to warn you before you time out, just so we can save from timing out the repeater and we don't miss what you have to share with the group. So thank you, Melanie. 150 seconds. You want to set your timeout so that you are generally should be under the timeout timers for most repeaters, if not all, that way. So we'll go in on how to do that in just a minute. But let's go back to Andrea before she forgets her comments there. So K2EZ, please go ahead. AC4YL and the net.
Okay. Oops. Well, hopefully, I don't know exactly where it timed out, but what I wanted to say is a key tip if you're hunting and pouncing is because a lot of people focus on the big stations. They have a lot of people calling, and even though it may seem like they are really strong, so they should hear you well, if they've got a lot of people coming back to them, you may find you have a hard time, and you can, and I've had this happen to me, spend a lot of time calling one of the strong stations. So sometimes it can be more productive and more fun to find the weaker stations that not so many people are calling. And even though they're weaker and you think, oh, I can't get the strong one, how am I going to get this person? Well, maybe they're running 100 watts instead of 1,500 watts. You try it, and I find a lot of the weaker stations are actually easier to work. And I'm not talking between the super strong and the ones that are faint, but ones that you can still copy well, they're just not super loud. So that was kind of my little tip there. Back to net, K2EZ.
Well, Andrea, that is an excellent tip, and certainly appreciate you coming in and sharing that with the gals. That's something we can all keep in mind, whether we've been contesting for a while or for those of us on the net that have never participated in an amateur radio contest. Definitely mark that one down. So as you are searching and pouncing, work the stations that you can hear and not necessarily the ones that are just blowing the doors off your headphones or whatnot. Okay, so let's see. Melanie has an additional comment, so let me pass it over to AG4YL.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Catherine. Good evening again, ladies. A good point is brought up there as far as searching and pouncing. I love to search and pounce. I have a very simple dipole antenna made out of a couple of ham sticks stuck up on some poles on my back porch. It's a compromise antenna. I have a great radio and a great headset and a great mic element in that headset, and this helps a lot. Radio is only as good as your antenna. The antenna is not bad. I just said it was a compromise. So I love to do the hunt and pounce. It's one of my favorite things. I'll never make the scores, not with the antenna setup I have. So I mean, I've done well in scoring, and I've got some really nice wallpaper, and I've come in first on a couple of contests, which surprised the heck out of me. And I think mostly it's because nobody was had the same. Nobody in my division, call area / section was operating at the same power and class that I was. This is probably all it was, reduced competition. But that being said, I love to hunt and pounce, and I absolutely agree with what Andrea had to say. Is the large stations that you're trying to go for, you can almost forget about it. YLs do have a little bit more of an advantage. You can also try tuning off band slightly on either side. It'll change the tone of your voice, and you can break through that way a little bit by using your XIT on your radio. That's what that's for. It'll change the frequency a little bit on transmit, and that's useful for getting a little bit more difference in tones so that your call will stand up to break through a pilot. Let me pause for reset. Okay, the other thing is, like she said, looking for those weak stations. Absolutely agree, 100%. The weaker stations, the quieter stations, the ones that don't have a jam, they're just calling CQ like you would not believe, and it's like I can hear him. I can actually have no problem with, because there's not 5,000 people calling. I'll work him, and you can get in pretty doggone good. And sometimes there are no rules and anything goes. So, but I love to search and pounce. Okay, so everybody here on Echolink, we all need to do something, okay? We need to, and I am speaking out of the PC version of Echolink. I am not sure how it works because I don't have my phone or tablet in front of me right now. If you are connected to Echolink on a PC, you need to go to your tools, you need to go to setup, you need to go to timing, and under TX time limit, you need to type in 150 seconds, okay? What this does is it will stop your Echolink transmission before you either time out the Echolink node on the repeater or the repeater itself. Usually the Echolink nodes on the repeaters are set shorter than the regular repeater limit. And as far as taking down a repeater 3 times, not sure that happened. I counted once, but that's just me, and I could be in error. And I've probably typed out a repeater using Echolink, I don't know, half a dozen times. I'm really good at it. I've taken down like a whole chain all the way across the U.S. Oops. My bad. So, yeah, no big deal. But if you can do this on your PC, go in and change your timing to 150 seconds. That will really help you on your TX time limit. Your Echolink will tell you you're getting close. I think it alerts you like 20 or 30 seconds out. And then it will just simply stop your transmission, and it won't hurt anything. So there you go. That's my 2 cents. HE4YL, back.
Okay, very good, Melanie. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, as Melanie mentioned, and hopefully, I'm not sure if we've got live stream going on, but I am recording the net, so if we do not have a live stream version, I'll post a recorded. Y'all will just have to excuse a comment or two that I may have made by not muting my microphone in between transmissions. They're not bad comments, just, I might have said something about to my computer or whatnot. But anyway, so tools, as Melanie mentioned, setup, and the timing tab. Please set your transmit time limit to 150 seconds, and that will all be in the visual of the recorded net. So please set that as well. Let me see if I can find this really quickly here. I think it actually might be under preferences. The other setting that you gals will want to change as well is the audio. So if you go to tools and you go to preferences and you go to signals, you'll notice that when some of you transmit and you're talking and someone puts in something in the Echolink chat, it chimes. Well, that transmits over as well, so we can hear when people are sending a message on Echolink chat, and it gives you that little signal. Or in the Do Drop In chat also has a method to kind of ping you when someone sent a message. You'll want to turn that off. So in Echolink, it's under the text message option. The signals under text message, set that to none so that it doesn't do that. You can turn that off when you're transmitting, then turn it back on if you prefer to keep it on during the net. But if you're going to transmit, please turn that off, because some of us get chatty in the chat room. We're trying to share stuff in reference to your comments, and the chime can be loud at times. Let me pause for reset. Okay, in the Do Drop In chat, for you gals that are over there on the bottom right hand corner, you see a few little buttons there. You see the question mark and a circle. You see the little wrench and screwdriver tool. You'll see the couple of people stacked there that are show and hide the online list. And to the right of that is the little speaker. If you tap that and get a red box with a white X in it, you've muted that, so you won't have any audio over there on the Do Drop In as well, so that it won't chime you when someone types a message in there. Again, several of you might like to have those features enabled during the net. That's perfectly fine, but please disable them before you transmit, and then you can go back and re-enable them at any time. So thank you so much, Melanie, for your comment on how to do that, but also your comments on hunting and pouncing and your suggestions of setting a little bit off frequency and going back to Andrea's working the somewhat weaker stations, or we can say less busy stations as well, that are out there just dying to work somebody and they're out calling CQ. So thank you very much. Some great tips and comments as far as hunting and pouncing versus running a frequency. And I'm sure there's a lot more we could cover, but again, that's what the Facebook WildOpNet Facebook group page is for. If you have comments and additional things that you want to point out or share with the gals, you could do it right over there with anything that we talk about on the net. You can also post your questions over there, and the gals are so active. It's great to see you ladies over there and participating in that. I'm looking at the time now, and it is 9:17 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's a 0117 UTC, and I'd like to apologize. I did not mention the HF net. I did not see ANWB1ARU on here at all. I think she and her OM, I believe, are going to Winnipeg, so they may be already there or en route there and may not be on this evening. I think Ann mentioned that last week. So I don't know if there is currently an HF net going on 14.288 megahertz, but if you do have 20 meter HF capability and license privileges and would like to hop over there and see if any of the gals are over on 14.288, feel free to do so. This net runs for another 12 minutes, so if you'd like to hang out here, you can. If you'd like to hop over there and see if any of the gals are on HF and then come back, you can do that as well. So I apologize for not bringing that up earlier. We had just a few things going on the net here, so I apologize for missing that. But that normally runs, the HF net normally starts at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Okay, so back to our contest topic. Do we have any other comments on exchange, search and pounce versus running a frequency?
The Gosnon from Italy, Uniform 7 Golf Romeo Mexico, Southeast Italy, over.
Okay, I think that's IU7GRM, Italy Uniform 7 Golf Romeo. Mike, good evening. Believe it's Luigi. Good evening to you. My name is Catherine, and my call sign is Alpha Charlie 4 Yankee Lima. And this is a YL net, a young lady amateur radio operator net. This net runs from 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time or 0000 UTC on Thursdays, or 00 UTC Friday morning, that would be, until 0130 UTC Friday, right here on the Echolink Alara conference node. It's a YL net, and we ask that only young lady amateur radio operators check in and participate during that net time. But a few of the gals may stick around for a bit after the net, so please feel free to come back in about 10 minutes if you like, and see if any of the YLs are still here. And I'm sure that if they are and have some time, they would enjoy having a QSO with you and catching up with you there, Luigi. So we appreciate you being there this evening. Thank you so much for that. So do we have any of the other ladies here on the net have any other comments on searching and pouncing or running a frequency, or questions for that matter?
Good evening, K1DDN. I don't have any comments. I just wanted to check in and say hello, ladies. Back to the net, K1DDN.
Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, Carol, in Citrus Heights, and I do have a comment.
Okay, 73. In the moment in southeast Italy, in my QRL in the moment. Okay, non very good my English. Okay, QSL.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Luigi. It's great to hear you, and glad you're doing well, and we really appreciate you standing by for about 8 minutes. Thank you so much for that. And welcome to the net, Amanda. It's great to hear you, and we've got you in the log, so thank you so much for popping in to say hi. And this evening we've been discussing contesting, so again, as I mentioned just a minute ago, I don't know if you were on at the time or not, so I'll reword it, but or re-mention it, I should say. I don't know if we're doing a live stream this evening or not. I haven't seen anything from Lauren, so not to worry. I am recording this net, and with any luck the recording will come out decent enough to to post and upload to the YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll get that up there to you so you can catch up with the earlier piece before you were able to get on. So welcome to the net, Amanda. And let's go to Carol, KP4MD, who did have a comment. And good evening, Carol. We have you in the log as well. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine. A very good evening to everyone. I'm glad we just returned back here to the States actually this morning. We were in San Juan, Puerto Rico for about 2.5 weeks. And this last weekend, we worked the IARU contest. I was operating QRP, CW strictly, and used the Elecraft KX3 rig and just a buddy stick, which is a 9-foot vertical pole that was tied onto the balcony rail, which is steel. We're up 8 floors and just about 100 yards away from the Atlantic Ocean with a clear view towards North America. And I had so much fun. I had to do hunt and pounce, of course, because I was QRP. And this is the first time I've actually worked a contest from that QTH. We made 216 contacts, quite a few multipliers. The total calculated score was about 44,000. So put a total of 14 hours into it. It was lots of fun. And CW gets out where I could not get out that well with phone, of course being QRP. So I'm looking forward to further future contest operations. So back to you, Catherine, and back to the net.
Well, thank you very much, Carol. Glad to have you with us this evening, and glad you made it back to the state safely and had a good trip. So it was fun seeing some of your pictures there on Facebook and your comments on how things were going for you guys down there, and having fun playing some radio. So that's always cool. And thank you for mentioning your contest experience and the running CW QRP. It's a lot of fun, and as you mentioned, that's another great tip. So if you want to be able to get out to more stations using less power, CW is most definitely a way to do that. So if you have any interest in learning code, that's a good reason to do it, and have a lot of fun playing some contesting in CW. So thank you very much, Carol. Sounds like y'all had a great time, and in Puerto Rico as well as contesting. So very good. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this topic here and open it up for any questions on anything that we covered this evening as far as contesting. I hope this was of some value and some interest to you gals out there, and helpful, at least in one way or another. Do we have any questions or comments about anything that we covered tonight? Please call now.
Whiskey Oscar 5 Juliet.
Okay, Whiskey Oscar 5 Juliet, good evening and welcome to the YL OpNet. We're glad to have you with us. If you will, please give us your name and your location, where you are right now, and please go ahead with your comment or question if you like. My name is Catherine and my call is AC4YL.
W05J, Mary Linda. I am just north of Dallas by about 40 miles, south of the Oklahoma border by 30, outside of a city called McKinney. From a ham perspective, I am what my husband used to refer to as a CNE, Certified No Experience. He's got 297 confirmed countries at this point, and I'm really good at taking tests, so I have my extra, and someday I'll be able to actually use some of our equipment. So I'm looking forward to continuing to participate in this via EchoLink. Thank you, W05J.
Well, thank you very much, Mary Linda. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and that's excellent. Congratulations on getting your license and working all the way up to extra class. So now it is time to pull up the chair to the radio and get on, and this is a great place to start. So we are very happy to have you with us and hope that you can join us each week. Again, this net meets every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, regardless of the time change. It stays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So currently it's at 0000 UTC and runs for an hour and a half. And so we're glad you are with us, and again, hope you can come back. And we look forward to hearing more from you, Mary Linda, on your ham radio experience. If any of us can be of any help to you at all in getting going on HF, we'd love to do so. So the net, you can reach out to us here. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a YL OpNet Facebook group page. We also have a YL OpNet YouTube channel as well, where we are trying to be consistent at getting the net recorded, either recorded or live streamed there each week, so that for you gals that miss a week or you miss part of the net, you can go back and see it again or see what you missed. You can also use that YL OpNet YouTube channel to share with gals that you know that are thinking about getting their license or just getting started and they're not sure what a net is like. That's another way that you can share amateur radio with them as well, and they can look at it anytime that they like. So thank you so much. Let's take this opportunity to see if we have any other YLs who have joined us and have not checked into the net this evening and would like to do so. So if you are one of those gals, please come back to us with your call sign, your name, and your location.
K7CJS, I did answer your question about whether I contested, but I did not check in, so checking in now. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, CJ. Got you in the log. Appreciate that. And there's another station. I believe it was Sally under Lou's call. Sally, we heard you key up, but never heard you say anything, so I'm not sure if you were trying to check in or bumped a button on the keyboard that triggered the transmit or not. So, again, we'll give this one last opportunity before we close out the net. Any YL who's not checked in would like to do so, please call now. We're going to go ahead and close out the net this evening. Thank you so very much, ladies, for coming in and joining us, and for the OMs that are standing by and silently cheering us on and supporting this net. We really do appreciate it very much. So please don't forget to visit our YLOpNet Facebook group. We'd like to take a moment to thank Lauren, KC9ZHV, who normally live streams and records this net and makes it available to all through YouTube. We would also like to thank Alara for the use of this Echolink conference node, North Fulton Amateur Radio League for their Dewdrop In chat room, and all who are linked in and listening for your ongoing support of this net. This is Catherine, AC4YL, closing the YLOpNet and returning the Alara conference node back to normal use. 33 ladies, thank you so much, and we will see you next week.